Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This is episode 29 of Apple Slice Podcast. And this time we are without Nick again, unfortunately, but this is because he's put his head down and he's working hard on another article to post under Nick's knack on our website. So look forward to that, hopefully on the weekend. But with me this time, I have Lance, who you may see appear on Review Culture Podcast every now and then. But Lance is a keen listener of Apple Slice. I recently guested on an episode of Review Culture with him regarding Linkin Park's new sound direction. But Lance is also, as I said, a big Apple fan. So what I want to do is, Lance, if you'd like to introduce yourself and let us know how you actually got into Apple.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys, everybody. I'm Lance. So how did I get into Apple? Well, first Apple product I owned was a 30 gigabyte iPod, a click wheel one, bit old school, and I actually won it in a radio competition, believe it or not.
Cool.
So that was pretty great, and I'd use that a fair bit. But then when the keynote for the iPhone 3G came out, my brother showed it to me, and I thought that is the most amazing looking phone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I lined up with my then girlfriend, now wife, on the day it came out, picked up the iPhone 3G, and then I've had a new iPhone every 2 years since. Every time my contract runs out.
So you're on the opposite to me. I'm on the S cycle.
So you don't have a 7?
No, I'm my first was 3GS.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was 3G, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. So my wife has gotten quite a few S's because she hasn't upgraded as fast, generally.
Yep.
But then I got a third generation iPad as a birthday gift.
First one with Retina display?
Yeah, that was great. Although they upgraded that like 3 months later.
Yeah.
So now I've got this one Apple product in my house that still needs that old 30-pin connector.
Damn.
And I'm running out of those cables.
I still got my iPad 2.
Oh wow.
Okay. I don't use it because I've got an iPad Air 2, but I've still got the iPad 2, and that's still going, albeit a bit slowly. But
yeah, the iPad 3 is kicking barely. The Wi-Fi drops out constantly, so I don't know what's wrong with it. But the thing that actually solidified my love for Apple was when I got my 2014 MacBook Air, which I'm on right now. Cool. Got it for uni, and it's the most incredible computer I've ever owned. It's just, it's 3. I think Facebook told me it's 3 years old yesterday.
Yeah.
3 years since I got it, and it's never skipped a beat, and it's just amazing. It does everything I need it to do.
I definitely know a lot of people are big fans of MacBook Air. That is regarded as one of Apple's best laptop releases. So
yeah. And then I got the original Apple Watch about probably 3 or 4 months after it came out. And I forgot I got an Apple TV somewhere in there at some point as well. The older one. I haven't got the new one.
Yep.
But yeah, love my Apple products, and I think I'm so invested in the ecosystem, having the MacBook with the phone, with the iPad, with the Apple TV, and the watch, like everything being able to work together in sync and complement each other is probably the best part about being an Apple fan.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it makes no sense in even trying to go, I'm going to get this Android phone instead. It's just going to completely break the rhythm. And the fact that I'm not overly interested in them anyway. But yeah. Interestingly enough, I'd like to point out that Lance and I are the same age, 87?
87.
87,
yep.
Brother. And yeah, we're probably roughly the same height. and actually unknowingly grew up probably a suburb or two away from each other in Brisbane.
Yeah, because where were you?
Forest Lake.
Forest Lake, yeah. And I grew up Algester, followed by Greenbank, just general Logan area, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's pretty cool. And both fathers with young children, and both enjoy a good pun. So it's everything's lined up. The only difference is that Lance has a beard and a small dog, and I have no beard and a large dog. So
I have two small dogs.
Two small dogs.
Two small dogs.
There you go.
So,
double size. Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay, so this is a WWDC centric episode. We're going to discuss a shopping list of sorts. I also got feedback from other listeners as to what they may or may not buy from the WWDC announcements. But before we get into it, what did you think of that Apocalypse intro? Like, how good was that video?
It was pretty funny. It was so corny at the same time, like the way that the apps just started like disappearing from the phones and things like that. I'm like, that could never happen. But it was definitely got a bit of a chuckle out of me. Yeah,
I think the bit I like about that is the intro to their keynotes have a different flavor each time. So you had carpool karaoke in previous year, and this time they've got this short film of sorts. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to dive right into it with product perception. Going to start with the big one. So iOS 11, and of course, along with that, iPad Pro. So anyone who listened to the previous mini-sode, Bonus Bite, you would have heard the features that both Nick and I like. And we did include a couple that weren't really showcased on stage. But this time I just want to find out what Lance liked from iOS 11. And I have a bunch of others features that, I mean, the whole thing is so feature-packed that we just couldn't fit it all in. So, you might find something out that you didn't know before. So, Lance, iOS 11, let us know what you like about this.
Yeah, I get really excited about WWDC every year because I love being able to not have to buy a new product, but get new features.
Yeah.
So, generally when it comes to iOS 11, most of my favorite features are non-iPad related because my third generation iPad can't run any of those features.
Yes. Yep.
But I think the biggest thing I thought, which I actually thought already existed, was iMessages in the cloud.
It's more the syncing of, like, you log in to iMessage on another device and it brings in all your conversations.
Yeah.
So iMessage has always been synced in some form, but this is kind of like a full sync across. And I'm pretty sure it's like you delete a conversation on one and it deletes on the others. Which I've really wanted, and hopefully that passes over to the watch as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I really want that.
I'm desperate for that because the number of times I just open my Mac and just ding, 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 and in comes all the messages that I've already read and seen. And I'm like, come on, Apple. It's annoyed me. So I was really excited about that. I think the ability to edit live photos.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Is really exciting as well. I've wanted to do that multiple times, and I've actually, downloaded a separate app one time and turned a live photo into a GIF. Just being able to edit it on the fly and do those little things, and especially scrub through it to find the best photo and the best image, I think that's really cool. The being able to customize the control center, I think, is something that's should have happened a while ago.
Yeah, definitely.
And I like the look of the new layout. I like that it can all fit on the one screen as well.
Yeah, because that's my next part. I was going to ask you whether you actually liked the redesign, because you've kind of got half the people think it looks like it's all just floating around, and the other half of people like the fact that it's all within one screen.
Yeah, I definitely like that it's all in one screen, because the number of times I've gone to adjust my brightness and ended up swiping to the other control center screen.
Yep.
That annoyed me. But I just think it's bigger. It takes up more of the screen. You can move everything around. I think it's definitely. I think I'll get a lot of use out of it, especially dragging certain things into it to customize it. I think it's really clever.
And more use of 3D touch as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be really
Yeah,
good.
that's cool. Yeah.
And then the last thing that I thought was quite interesting was, and didn't expect at all, was that do not disturb while driving feature. I thought it was an interesting implementation of that. And the first, I think, of any company to really tackle this problem of, trying to avoid getting messages and being distracted while you're driving.
Yes.
And I think it's really professional, and what's the word? Responsible
I think
of Apple.
Yeah, and the fact that you don't have to set it before you start driving.
Yeah,
like it's an
that's
automatic
really
thing, and the fact you can kind of designate contacts that you do want to hear from. It's not going to just apply it to everyone. So,
and that auto message back as well. I thought that was fairly interesting. Obviously, you can turn it on or turn it off. I'm hoping you can turn that on or off based on contacts as well. Yeah,
they more and more they've been doing this per contact, toggles and stuff. Like with read receipts, you can do it per contact. So
I only found out that the other day. So I'm keen to get in and start stopping people from knowing I'm reading their messages.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm still waiting on Nick to enable read receipts for me, but
Oh, come on, Nick.
Yeah, come on, man.
I love that when I send you a text, it's like, oh, you've read it. Excellent.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I feel like I like people to know. But anyway, so that's about it for you for iOS 11?
Yeah, I think that they're the main features.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is, just before I dive into features, there's actually been some recent benchmark tests that show that the iPad Pro is actually outperforming the new MacBook Pros in some CPU and GPU tasks. Ooh. Like what they've put into the new iPad Pro performance-wise is just amazing. And something that they showed during the keynote, the feature being ProMotion, with the 120 hertz refresh rate. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means super smooth scrolling, and that's the first difference you'll notice. It also means that video content is always going to look great. So it has a variable refresh rate. So it's going to change according to the actual file itself. So you don't get any of this weird, what they call it, like video smoothing or picture smoothing or something. So it's always going to play on the iPad Pro how it's intended to be watched.
Yeah, so your 60 frames per second video will only refresh at 60 frames.
Yes.
Rather than doubling it and making it look weird.
Exactly. And the fact that the advantage to this as well being saving battery power. So because you're not running at 120 all the time, that little aspect there too. And the thing is, this promotion has been, I have to call it ProMotion because I'm saying promotion. It sounds like anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually been described as like being as noticeable as the difference between a non-retina to retina screen, which is a big difference to me. And Nick actually tested this briefly in store, and he said he loved it. Now he allowed me to include this, but he said that whoever created this feature deserves a promotion. And I was like, yes, I've got to put that in the podcast. So yeah, thank you there, Nick. Very punny indeed. But okay, moving on, we have the QuickType keyboard flick. So the fact that you don't have to keep switching in between for other characters, that would help a lot with the typing flow and everything.
That was cool. I like that. That.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. A single column of widgets on iPad, I think, is good. While it might look like there's a lot of spare space, I always found the permanent double column a little bit strange, and your time is always aligned to the left. So yeah, I feel like that is a lot cleaner. The fact that you can use Apple Pencil and you just tap the screen to unlock it, that's really cool in the sense that particularly if you're note taking and stuff like that, and you're just in the meeting, you don't want to have to try and swipe open or touch ID or whatever. Swipe open, what am I talking about? But yeah, I find, they're just doing these little things to make everyone's workflow that much easier.
Yeah, I suppose it's similar to the swipe from the lock screen to get to a camera or something like that. You're not accessing any data off of the iPad or the phone. You're just adding in things.
Exactly. Yeah.
That therefore you're not actually, privacy or having to unlock the screen is not an issue.
Oh, definitely. I think, it's between that and the actual ProMotion itself also has made Apple Pencil far more responsive as well, and reduced any sort of sense of lag. And so I'm really keen on seeing people's reviews about that. And the dock, the icons in your dock actually have no titles on them, which I think is pretty cool because you don't kind of need to know what your most used apps are called, because you already know what they are. Type to Siri. That's handy, particularly if you feel a little bit embarrassed about talking out loud, to a static device. But what are your thoughts on the actual new look of Siri, this kind of like orb style? Or what are those balls called that have got like the electricity kind of like static flowing inside it? That's a kind of... You know what I mean? Like those ones in science centers and stuff. Yeah.
I know what you mean, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it reminds me of that anyway. So they've kind of like, they've changed the look of Siri once already by pushing it to the waveforms, and now they've got this kind of like orb style.
Yeah, I mean, it's much of a muchness for me, to be honest. But it's still a similar style. They're not completely changing it up. It's
still
similar
the same color
isn't it?
spectrum and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks good on the. I mean, we'll get into the HomePod, I'm sure, but it definitely looks good in the circular design on the AirPod. Maybe that, not AirPod, HomePod. Maybe that's why they pushed it in that direction. I
feel like that, and I also feel like with the new iPhone coming, an embedded Touch ID, there's going to be something in that circular section dedicated at the bottom of the screen, on a bezel-less phone, and I feel like that they've kind of redesigned Siri into a circular form, so it ties in with that and HomePod. But alternate AirPod controls. So currently with AirPods, as you know, you got double tap for Siri, or you pull out your ear for play pause, but you can actually assign different controls to the left or the right one, such as next and previous track, or you can even have the play pause as tapping on it rather than having to pull it out your ear. The only unfortunate thing is you can't, unless you could have like next track on the left and previous track on the right. But then, it sort of seemed like there was a slight limitation there, but something to have a play with when iOS 11 comes out. And the fact you can convert to PDF straight from the share sheet. I currently use that Workflow app to do that, but the fact that it's natively built in is really handy because that's something that I use a lot. So as I mentioned before about Siri, the actual positioning of Touch ID throughout iOS 11 is in that bottom central region. And I really feel like this is strongly hinting at, that embedded Touch ID. And also the iMessage App Store, I don't use it that much. I want to use it more often. And the fact they've positioned it in this sort of permanently viewable space at the bottom, kind of brings more attention to it. But what do you think about the fact that it's kind of always there?
I hope there's a way to turn it off.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yep.
Because I don't use that many options from it, and I kind of like that it's slightly hidden away. I might send the occasional GIF or something, but and it's GIF, not GIF. I don't care what anyone says. But yeah, it kind of it took up. I feel like it took up too much space along that bottom edge.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes away once you start typing, doesn't it? So
yes,
if you actually hit the box, bring up the keyboard, I think it goes away. So maybe it's not going to be that big of an issue.
I certainly the main thing is I wouldn't want just the accidental hits of it, basically. So, being able to take a live photo during a FaceTime video call, that's pretty cool. And, Notes, I use Notes a lot. They've put tables into Notes and you can kind of shift the cells around really easily. Pinned Notes, which is a big one for me. There's notes that I use commonly, but as you know, anytime you update a note, it pushes itself to the top. Mm-hmm. So to pin your favorite notes would be good. And they've redesigned the style editor, which I think looks cool, except for it looks like they're using the rounded version of San Francisco as the headings font, like the rounded one you'd get on your Apple Watch when doing an activity. So a little bit of downer on that, but that's just me being picky with fonts. And they've built in the emergency SOS feature, with multiple presses of the power button. I think it's 5 in a row. And then that's then like with the watch, it pops up, power off or the emergency SOS. So yeah, those are ones that were actually shown, but we didn't get to discuss in the last episode. And just a few others. There's actually a built-in QR code reader into the camera. Like, that's something I've wanted for so long, because I just hate the fact of having to use a dedicated QR reader app.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I just stopped even bothering with QR codes.
Yeah, exactly. There's a QR code, but there's a website written directly under it. Why not just go to the website? It'll probably take you just as long to dig around in your phone to find that QR code reader app that you haven't used in 3 months.
I have noticed people, apps like Twitter and Chrome have QR codes as a 3D touch action.
Okay.
So more and more people have kind of been trying to revive QR codes, but QR codes are actually like a thing that have existed in China years and years ago. And so that's why when they mentioned about the QR code reader, they were talking specifically about China, but it does roll out to everyone. But interestingly enough, you can actually scan the QR code on the bottom of a Wi-Fi router to automatically connect to it. This is very similar to what Google showed in their I/O conference. But the difference is that this with the Apple version actually requires it to have a QR code on the bottom. Alternatively, you can actually automatically send your Wi-Fi password to friends. So you have someone come around and they've never joined your Wi-Fi before, and you can just send it straight away, which is handy, particularly if you have you're using your password that's actually written on the bottom of the router. That's 16 characters long of complete jumble. So
did they show where in the menu that feature is to send it?
No.
Would you go into settings, Wi-Fi, and then
I'll have to rewatch that. Yeah. There's a few videos going around that have literally just covering all the features that have been found in iOS 11, and they did cover that. So that was definitely interesting to see.
It would be a good. I think it would be a good feature if you can share that Wi-Fi password to flick it over to your friend's phone without actually telling them what the Wi-Fi password is, because I know a lot of people reuse their passwords on multiple things, and some people might have a Wi-Fi password that also happens to be a password for another account.
I think that is it. I think it's sending and they connect, but they don't actually see it.
Yeah, I think that's a great feature. That's really
knowing
clever.
Apple's stance on privacy, I'd say that probably is the case. So, and so people have been wanting a dark mode on iOS for a long time. There's sort of a dark mode in the way that with your invert colors, there's an option called Smart Invert, so it doesn't invert the colors of your images and websites and stuff. But of course, the actual text links and everything in the UI are inverted, so you kind of everything's dark with orange links. So, because it's not proper dark mode, I wouldn't want to use it. But hey, if you're desperate for everything to be like that, then you could try that. And podcast has actually gotten a fair bit. They've redesigned the app, as I mentioned in the bonus bite. But the actual way that podcasts are structured, so that you can have them season based now, and so your subscribers will get the whole newest season rather than just your single latest episode. They've sort of cleaned up the titles. I don't know how this is actually structured, but it seems like there's no reference to the podcast itself or the episode number, but rather that information is used as metadata, so it'll still appear in the correct order. It just won't say the episode number. So I'm not really sure if you can override that or if there's an option. We'll have to check that out. And you can actually specify whether an episode is a full episode, a trailer, or a bonus type. And I think that would work really well for stuff like Bonus Bite. And finally, you can get some podcast analytics, which people wanted from Apple for so long, considering Apple are the go-to place for podcasts. And this will definitely help a lot of people with how you structure your episode. It'll actually tell you if people are skipping over ads or particular sections, or where they're exiting, or where they're trying to start. Like, I have some podcasts I listen to where the guy every time does 15 minutes worth of ads at the start, and I know exactly where to skip. So
15 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes worth of ads in one podcast right at the beginning.
right at the beginning. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It is a cool podcast though, but the thing that I don't mind about that is it actually reads the ads really well. There are some podcasts where they just literally they sound like they don't give a crap, and I'm like, yeah, that puts me off. But he sounds really genuine in what he's advertising. But yeah, that's a fair bit. There's actually a lot more with iOS 11, but we'll be here all night. So I'd like to move on to watchOS 4. So watchOS 4 is supported on all versions of Apple Watch, so there's no exclusion
Thank goodness.
Which is good. And so what were you liking from the announcements?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I like is being able to change away from that honeycomb grid view of your apps and get into list view, because no matter how many times I go into that view, it takes me so much time to figure out what the icon is of the app that I'm actually looking for and try to find it. So having them all in alphabetical order, and then that'll also prompt me to cull a whole heap of apps I don't use to make that list shorter. I think that's a really good option.
I like that it's optional though, because I really like the honeycomb view. I know that it takes longer to find something, but I just like the unique appearance of it, the fact that it's iconic to the Apple Watch. And I actually use it as something with the kids. They really like, I'll show them the honeycomb view, and then they'll move their finger around on it and they'll be like, wow, and they just think it's magical. So there is that little aspect of that too. But yeah, as I said, it is good that it's an option, and it's obviously great that the list is alphabetical too. So
yeah, definitely good option. I do like the look of the honeycomb view, but you never know. Maybe I'll start using list view for a couple of months and then decide I like the honeycomb view better or something. But I'm glad it's an option. I think it's just a really good little refinement. Give people options. Why not?
Yeah, cool.
The other thing that I thought was really good was that when you're playing media off of your phone, which obviously your watch is connected to, that now when you raise your wrist, the Now Playing application will be there, so that you can pause and skip or volume up or volume down straight away, which I think is really clever. I mean, you could have had that if you started playing your media, and then I think there's an option on the watch to make it that when you raise your wrist, it shows the last app that you were in if you didn't close out of it, rather than directly on the screen. But I think this is a smarter use case for it to, because it just automatically go there when you're playing the media. The number of times I've read my wrist and wanted to pause it really quickly, but had to flick into the dock and then realize it's actually 3 apps down in the dock and trying to find it. I probably could have walked a few meters and picked up my phone. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely making it more instant, which is what the watch is all about. It's just quick little interactions. But yeah, for me, the fact that you can just hold your watch near the phone to pair it, that's really cool. The fact that music playback is just a simple swipe from right to left during a workout, that's really handy. Because there'll be plenty of times I'll be doing my nightly walk and I got the workout going and I'll want to skip track or repeat track or whatever, and constantly having to go into the dock and then slide over is just that extra step. That's particularly while you're trying to walk a dog at the same time. So I find that really useful. The camera remote now supports video, which is cool. And there's actually a flashlight function, so you can have solid white or flashing white or red, where the whole watch screen lights up. Now, this is for like nighttime safety feature, but the whole time I was just picturing, Titanic, when you're kind of waving your arm above the frozen water and save me, Jack, or whatever. But anyway, that's quite interesting. They didn't actually show it on stage though. But another feature is NFC connection to gym equipment. Now, to me, as far as I can tell, I mean, I don't go to the gym, but as far as I can tell, there aren't many NFC readers on gym equipment.
I don't think there are. Apple said that they were saying that they've got these partners that are going to support it.
Yeah.
But
which means Australia will get it in like 8 years, but
yeah, exactly. It'll take forever, but I mean, for something, I can see it being a thing for the future. I wouldn't run out and get an Apple Watch right now, hoping to NFC to your nearest gym.
Do you go to the gym anyway or not?
No, I used to, but no,
back in
these
the
days.
old club scene days.
Back in I was actually training for the police at one point.
Oh, really? I can picture that.
I'd be running the treadmill heaps and heaps, trying to get that beep test. Man, those beep tests were killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did like a good treadmill back then, so I can see how it would work, and the fact that it's a nice idea that some of the data from the treadmill can cross across to the watch, and the watch can give data to the treadmill, and overall just a much more accurate, especially recording things like incline and everything. I think it's really clever. Whether you needed an NFC reader to do it, I don't know. There could have been some workarounds. Like an application or something on your phone that you could connect to the Wi-Fi that's connected to at the gym, or something. Possibly. So instead of having to put in an NFC, I mean, NFC readers are a lot easier with minimal setup, but just a Wi-Fi and transfer and say you're on treadmill ABC and off you go. Maybe that could have been an option, and maybe if it could be an option in the future for people that want to get data onto their phone from the treadmill without actually having a watch.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing.
All these possible use cases. And watchOS 4 actually allows a Series 2 watch to connect to low-energy Bluetooth accessories like those for glucose tracking and delivery. So this is referred to as core Bluetooth. And this will also help in terms of diabetes management in the health app. So Nick and I previously did mention the possibility of there being an actual Apple Watch model or band that can do glucose tracking, but this is kind of like the halfway step before that. So being able to work with those accessories, and Tim Cook has been seen wearing something like this. So I think that's all of these improvements that they're doing with watchOS 4 being health and workout related. It's what the whole device is primarily about, really. And then just quickly, there's different workout types: Tai Chi, mixed cardio, and hand cycling. It can actually do set detection in swimming, so it doesn't require you to pause or resume the workout. It'll actually know when you've stopped and started and that sort of thing.
That's a really good option, especially because I'm sure trying to stop it with completely wet hands or when your watch is underwater might be a bit of a pain.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all these possible use cases that they're really just trying to make things quicker and easier, which is, it really goes to show that they're still putting a lot of effort into the watch, even though people might not be making a lot of apps for it and that. They're certainly improving what is there. And you can press the crown and side buttons at the same time to pause workouts, which can be handy. And that's pretty much it for watchOS 4. Now tvOS 11 got hardly any stage time, but there are actually a couple of updates. So what are Apple bringing to the latest tvOS update?
Yeah, couple of small features other than the one you guys were talking about last week, being the Amazon Prime Video, which we wouldn't get here in Australia anyway. But auto pairing with AirPods is a fairly nice feature.
Yes, yep.
You just turn it on and I'm not sure. You have to open your AirPods next to your...
Yeah, I guess it's just because... Well, I mean, the range of AirPods
open it and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact it's all like about the iCloud pairing. So basically before you'd have to manually do it and now you don't. So just another little enhancement there.
No, that's really good. It's because using headphones to watch anything on TV, sitting meters and meters away from your TV, having to plug in a cable or something it's just people don't do it. So being able to use your AirPods and just pair it nice and easy and not wake up the baby, that's a really good option.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they've got an auto dark mode. So when during the day, it'll be in light mode, and then when when the sun goes down, based on your geographical location, it'll automatically turn to dark mode, which I think is a fairly nifty option.
Yeah. It's something that people thought would be the case when they first introduced dark mode, and so now they actually are going to roll it out. So that's pretty cool. But that wraps up Apple TV. I'm sure there's probably a couple of other features, but yeah, it's looking quite minimal at this point. But we're going to move on to macOS High Sierra and, of course, the new Mac hardware. So MacBook Air, MacBook, and MacBook Pro all got spec bumped, so we don't really need to discuss that. The biggest part of that being MacBook Pro with the latest Kaby Lake processors. So we're going to focus on the other announcements here. But I'd like to get your thoughts on High Sierra itself, the new iMac, like just iMac, the Star Wars virtual reality demo with yourself being a gamer. I want to get your thoughts on that. And, of course, the iMac Pro. So what are you thinking about these?
High Sierra, I'm quite excited to get that. I'm really excited that it supports my 2014 MacBook Air. I know the day will come soon where an update won't work, or I won't get all of the features. But for now, it's really nice that they're still supporting the old MacBook Airs. A few of the options that come back even with iOS 11, like the iMessages in iCloud and things like that are going to work across High Sierra and iOS 11, I think I'm really excited about. But there's been a couple of times that I've tried to get into the faces option in the photo app and actually get it to assign faces to names so that it can start doing that kind of stuff. And I'm quite excited that they're improving that tech and syncing it across devices. I think that's going to be a really good way, say to, when I take photos of my daughter, for it to automatically group them all together without me having to manually make an album or put them in the cloud or anything like that. It can group them all together for me, and I can look back of photos of my daughter all together. I think that's a really good feature.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure there was a million other High Sierra things that I saw, but I can't think of them at the moment. When it comes to the iMac, I've never owned an iMac. My dad has one. And I really, really love, Apple's MacBooks, to be honest. I love the Air, and I would like, one of those new Kaby Lake MacBook Pros. So the iMac isn't really on my radar.
Yep.
The Star Wars VR demo, I thought it was really cool tech, and I thought it was, like, if I was a developer, I think that is going to be the new latest and greatest way to create VR experiences, whether it's a game or just a visual thing. Just being able to be in the VR and placing 3D objects and actually being able to get instant feedback on that placement and how it feels, rather than having to like render it up and then go get your VR headset on and put it on and try and then go back and move it again. I think that's a really powerful tool, and I was surprised. So much efficiency. Yeah, I was surprised it was doing it all together, and that wasn't even on the iMac Pro. That was just a standard iMac.
Yeah.
So that was quite incredible. But I did find that segment still fairly boring, to be honest, and when it went on a bit too long, it kind of killed the vibe of the keynote for me, because I hate to say it, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. And the little jokes they were making between each other, it just lost me a little bit.
Yeah. But I'm sure you can, at least you can recognize the fact that there are Star Wars fans that'll be frothing on it like I was. I was like, oh my God, look at that. I was like, oh, Starfighter's everywhere, there's Darth Vader, or he's turned around. I expected that, but hey, cool, yeah. So,
yeah. And then the iMac Pro.
Yes.
I mean, when they were announcing and saying, I've got this iMac Pro and talking about the specs and everything like that, it was a bit over my head, other than, oh my gosh, that is one expensive iMac that everyone is super excited for, and I can't even consider the use case. Everything I've read about it since has just been said, who is this? If you're a personal computer user that just likes to browse Facebook, this is a bit overkill. Just a little.
Yeah, it's far too much overkill. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's exciting though. I can't believe they fit all of that into the same design, and it's that thin, and it's all of the cooling. Like, nobody can do this like Apple. People won't appreciate it. They'll go, whatever. I can just buy a tower and put similar components in it, and it'll cost me less or something like that. But the fact that the engineering that goes into this kind of thing just blows me away.
I also like the fact that, okay, so typically, we can be realistic and say that, Apple products generally they have like a premium on them, in the sense of, being Apple and being a top end product and having fantastic design. But in the actual case of the iMac Pro, as they pointed out, and as many others have pointed out, you try and spec out the same type of performance in a PC tower and you're still coming at a higher price. And the fact it's not an all-in-one design, and that's actually excluding the monitor cost too. Yeah, so
that's quite
the
incredible.
iMac Pro is expensive, but for what is in it, it's actually not expensive. So, yeah,
that was really surprising to hear. Apple do some deals on those parts.
Apparently, the maxed out iMac Pro is 17 grand American.
No.
Anyway, so you can either have a new small car, or you can have a kick-ass iMac Pro. But anyway, unfortunately, with the iMac Pro, you can't upgrade the RAM. But to me, I feel like it can go up to 128 gig in RAM. It's just insane. So I feel like you spec it out at the start, to exactly how you want it. And the thing I'm feeling about this is I'm expecting the Mac Pro, this modular Mac Pro, to make its appearance WWDC next year. So I still feel like there is a gap of people that this top end Pro users that will still want the modular Mac Pro, even though the iMac Pro will offer them all the spec that they need. I just feel like there's those people out there that want to be able to switch parts and stuff more easily. So that's what we're feeling in the Mac hardware space. It was, still a surprise to me as to how much new products they packed into this event. And it makes me even more excited for WWDC next year. So it's like, what else can we expect? But then is that setting the wrong precedent? Are people going to feel like they're going to announce 4 new products each time now? It's certainly made it exciting for pros. Again, that's the whole point of this, is they've wanted to reinvigorate that attention and excitement from pro users, really. And I feel like that they've brought the focus back.
Yeah, so, I agree.
And we're going to move on to the last product, the HomePod. So I've already discussed this with Nick, but I'd love to hear about your thoughts on the HomePod.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. And it is a space in the home and in people's lives that Apple really hasn't delved into very much, having that speaker. And there's a lot of competition on the market with all of these smart speakers around. But I like their focus on the sound quality. Because I've heard the Amazon Echo and things like that, where they've got all the smarts, but just sounds rubbish when it comes to playing music. I think this is a really nice in between. I do definitely hope that they improve Siri a little bit for some of that stuff. I do find with my watch or with my phone, when I'm speaking to it and asking it to play a certain song that I know I have in my library, or even a certain artist, especially artist names they're not always Michael Jackson, that they have a name of a band which is spelt slightly differently and that kind of thing. So I find Siri has trouble picking that kind of stuff up. So either Siri, I think, needs to improve a little bit by the time this comes out, or they definitely need some kind of way to interface with the HomePod on your other devices, on your phone, select the song. I'm sure it says it supports AirPlay, so you should just be able to throw your music across. but then, let the HomePod take over so that your phone can leave the house or whatever, and other people in the vicinity can continue listening to the music that it was playing.
In terms of the Siri part of it, I feel like that they've strategically announced it now, did the big push on the fact that its audio being so much better, and just all the stuff that's gone into producing this great sound for the room that it's in. And I feel like that we're going to get all the Siri enhancements come the iPhone event. I feel like they're going to push Siri a lot more, and I feel like they've now got themselves a window of time to get those enhancements in place, which is why Siri was included when they're talking about HomePod, but it was very quickly spoken about.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right way to do it as well. They just, if they came out and spoke Siri and said a whole heap of things about it, I think since they've announced this so early and it is not coming out till December, it's a sneak peek as they called it. I think that's, that the iPhone event where they'll launch the iPhone 8 or whatever it ends up calling, they'll have a dedicated section on Siri improvements, and then, talk all about HomePod and all of the great, fantastic things that you can do on HomePod now that you've got new Siri. I think that'll be amazing. I'm still
wondering whether they're going to hold a October event, because they put all this pro stuff in WWDC, but could they actually dedicate an October event to HomePod?
A whole event just for HomePod?
Well, a whole event for MacBook Pro with Touch Bar.
Yeah, I suppose.
But there is a lot more to show in that regard, so yeah.
It is a little bit difficult, especially when it comes to sound quality and things, to be able to show that in a keynote. So, the Siri features would take up a fair period of time.
I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, they'll probably tie that into the iPhone event. So, yeah. So that wraps up HomePod for us. But what I want to just briefly touch on is the iOS 11 wallpaper. So, as if you've read it online, and I've previously spoken about it, there were 3 iPad-specific wallpapers in 10.3.3 beta. There's actually now a 4th one as well. It's this sort of cold, icy, rock water edge image. Now, these come only with the new 10.5-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pros, and they're actually using the wallpaper on the packaging. So on the top of the box, depending on what color you get, there's a different wallpaper used. So they've used the Albany Shelley Beach one on the gold iPad Pro and etc. Which is cool. Now, when I first saw iOS 11 in the early hours of the morning, I was like, oh great, that's the photo, that's the one I wanted. I wanted my hometown to appear on iOS 11, and the more I looked at it, I'm like, no, that's actually a different image. Very similar, but it is actually different. And so I pointed out this difference to the journo that I spoke with from the paper. He contacted the photographers, Salty Wings, and they confirmed, yes, that is their photo as well. But it's actually of Wired Up Beach in Yallingup, WA. So it's actually only a few hours drive away from me. But it's pretty crazy. So they now have 2 photos. One that's, iOS 11 that you see everywhere, and then one that's specific to the new iPad Pros.
Wow, on the box, that's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, on the box. Yeah, I was so it's still WA, it's still Australia, it's still close to my my region, but Nick was convinced straight away. He's like, he didn't think there was a difference, and so did a little bit of research there, but there you go, something to be proud of. Australia making its mark on Apple products. And so we're just going to move on to the water cooler, and this is where I want to discuss what products from WWDC will we actually buy. Are there ones you're definitely going to get, or umming and ahhing about, or are you just going to hold off? So Nick he's been back and forth with me since WWDC, and he's currently at the stage of being 75% sold on getting a 10.5-inch iPad Pro, but he was looking at getting the 12.9-inch as a Mac replacement. Now, we do have some fan feedback to go through quickly first, and we've got a few people to discuss here, so I'll let Lance help me read these out. So we have long-time Apple Slice listener Adam Mackman from Umina Beach, New South Wales. He said he's keen on the new iPad Pro, but funds permitting. But he may hold off and buy the new iPhone in September instead. We have Sadia, also known as X-Alerate. She's a tech blogger from Birmingham, UK. She has the Touch Bar MacBook Pro, so she's fine for now. And she seems to be mainly interested in phones, so I assume that she's just waiting for the new iPhone to come out. And we have Kylie Mayfield from my hometown, Albany, WA. She's actually ordered the 12.9-inch iPad Pro and the pencil, so got in there straight away, straight after you were able to buy it online. And so we've got a guy from USA here. Lance, do you want to let us know what he's into?
Devon from Uprising News. He's thinking he'd possibly like to grab a HomePod. But definitely not the iMac Pro. We don't all have that budget, so I'm sure that's a good reason. But he would like to wait for the Mac Pro to be announced. Okay. So, obviously wants to be able to upgrade, and possibly it might be a little bit cheaper without the screen.
Yes.
Oscar Thompson from Perth, WA with you. Loving HomePod as well, depending on the price in Australian dollars. I'm feeling the same. It really depends on that price. But
I did discuss this with him. I said, $4.99. I'm really thinking it's going to be, and he seemed to be fine with that. So
yeah, he's also eyeing off a Sonos unit. Has been eyeing off a Sonos unit for a long time, but the HomePod has the smart speaker capabilities, so that's what's pulled him there. And it's likely to be improved via software updates. I think all Apple ever do is release a product and then continue to support it with great software updates for free. So I think that's definitely a plus to get a HomePod.
Yeah, of course. And we also have a bit more love from America. Brian Van Deven, he actually originally contacted us through the Apple Slice website on the contact page. He's from St. Louis, Missouri, USA. He had just bought the 9.7-inch iPad Pro in February, so of course won't upgrade there. He's really keen on iOS 11 and loves the dock. He thinks it's really slick. He's really looking forward to the September event, and he has a 6S, so he's wanting to upgrade his iPhone, so he's kind of all sorted there. And my best friend, Tim Karamia, also obviously from my hometown, Albany, WA. Now he is pretty confident he's getting the iMac Pro. The entry-level 8-core, but 8-core is certainly nothing to be sniffed at. And he's actually, I'm actually quite proud of him. He's gradually progressed to Apple. He used to be very no PC and he was all very much, Apple charged too much for their products and stuff. And over the years, he's progressed his way over, and his first one being the iPhone 5C, which he's now got a 6S, had iPad Air. He's now got a Pro 9.7-inch, which he got this year. And he's been umming and ahhing about an iMac or a MacBook Pro, and now he just wants to go to the bloody top with iMac Pro. So
just so you can drool over it and be jealous, and he can say he's a bigger Apple fan than you.
What about yourself? So you were kind of umming and ahhing about HomePod. Do you want to see more of it before you decide? Or
I'd love to have an opportunity to listen to it. I'm not sure under what circumstances that would be able to happen, whether they're going to have them in the Apple Store, whether they'll have a dedicated little room or corner that you can go in and listen to it, because you can't exactly blast music from it in the middle of the Apple Store while other people are trying to buy their tech products. But from all of the reviews and everything and impressions that people have had, the sound is quite incredible. I would be interested in seeing the Siri improvements or other ways to be able to control the HomePod before I fork out. But I think out of this keynote, when it comes to products to buy, HomePod's definitely at the top. I would still really, really like to upgrade my Air to the MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. But to get, I think I've got 256 gig of SSD currently in the Air, and I couldn't possibly go down. So getting the 256 with the Touch Bar looking at a bit over $2,000. I just had a baby. So
Yeah.
it's not, unfortunately, as much as I want to go out and grab it, unless someone wants to pay me over $1,000 for my MacBook Air, I might be able to get that one past the wife, but, yeah, unfortunately, that's probably all at the moment. I would like to update my iPad at some point because the third generation iPad doesn't get much use these days. But you know, if I was to get anything, I would get the new MacBook Pro over getting an iPad, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really keen to see more on HomePod. My only hesitation being like what I was discussing with Nick, where I don't actually listen to music on speakers in the home anyway. I'm very much, my style of music is different to what my wife's style of music is, and I would rather rock out with my AirPods in. But yeah, the actual HomePod itself, I'm really keen to see more on. Definitely waiting for Siri improvements there. And I absolutely love the look of iPad Pro, particularly with all the iOS 11 enhancements and all the Apple Pencil stuff. But realistically, yeah, I've got MacBook Pro Touch Bar. That was my big expense. That's the one I'm doing all my work on. I haven't touched my actual iMac for a long time. And I feel like that, I've got my iPad Air 2 and that's there if I need it. So yeah, definitely something I'm interested in, but I won't be getting one. And we're just going to wrap this up by moving on to Uniquely Apple. Planet of the Apps finally came out. There's been 2 episodes so far, so they're being released weekly, on Wednesdays at midday for me, but 2 p.m. in the other for you. Now, have you watched both of them or just the first episode?
Just the first one, I think. Yeah, I've watched the first one. I fairly enjoyed it. The format was a little bit stranger than I expected. I really thought that the kind of apps people would come and pitch, I kind of saw it as a bit of a startup thing, like people need a hand to build their app. But these were, we've built our app, we have amazing technology, and now we want people to invest to make them, multi-million-dollar things, which I think lost a little bit of its charm, to be honest. I thought it would be better to see these people who need a little bit of a hand to make their app, that much better. You know what I mean? It just wasn't really what I expected.
I had, for anyone who's previously listened and we've discussed about, Nick was really excited about Planet of the Apps. At first, from the first trailer, I was like, it's too much like just standard reality TV. So I had lower expectations. He had higher expectations. I want to find out directly when we get him back on the next episode as to what he thinks. But he was actually not as impressed. I think he thought there'd be more footage and more time with the whole incubation period part of it. For me, I actually, as I said, had sort of low to mid expectations, and it has piqued my interest. I do still feel like it falls in that kind of formula of reality TV, but with the real quick edits and the parts, the scenes where you're meant to be like, oh wow, this is the shock bit and stuff. But yeah, it is enjoyable. I'm already subscribed to Apple Music. Might as well watch it. I want to see what other apps come out. And the fact you can actually try the apps out as they release the episodes. So that first one, Pair, I tried that out just next to my kitchen.
I did too. I found it really bucky, to be honest.
Yeah, it looked a lot cooler.
The couch that I put in the middle of the room, as I walked around it, it ended up merging into the wall, like moving. Yeah. And I was like, this is not great.
Yeah, it's the story behind it was great. What the guy was wanting to do was cool, but it was kind of like he was actually thinking bigger picture rather than the furniture placement aspect of it.
Yeah.
Essentially, people kind of related it to ARKit that they announced at WWDC. It was kind of like his version of that.
And ARKit from what we saw at WWDC is a much better technology.
Oh yeah, there's this I think I'll see if I can find it and I'll share it on the site. But this guy did a demo with the iOS 11 beta of a creature he created, and it's like this sort of like female alien looking thing standing in a dark room in his house, I'm guessing, or office, with all this like smoke and stuff going around her, and she's got like all, you know, alien features and that. And so he created that model, and it's standing in this room, and it looks so damn good.
Wow, like full size, like human size.
Like full size, and he walks... Wow. He's like another room away, he walks right up to it, walks around, and it's moving around, and you can see all this like cold looking like smoke or whatever just floating around. And from what we've seen with AR so far, that was definitely like the most impressive I've seen so far. So.
Yeah, definitely share it. That sounds really cool. I'm really interested to see that.
Cool. And very briefly, Puff Daddy. So PDD/Puff Daddy/Sean Combs/ whatever you want to call him, because he keeps changing his name. And I haven't actually heard anything from him or seen him around for many years, but he has a documentary coming out on Apple Music exclusively on June 25th. It's called Can't Stop, Won't Stop, A Bad Boy Story. Wow. So if you want to... Yeah. Apparently his record label is called Bad Boy Records, so that's the reference there. But,
that makes sense.
I'll watch it just because I like watching music docos. I don't really have any interest in his music at all. But were you ever a Diddy follower? I think the only Diddy I'm into is Diddy Kong. But
yeah, no, not really. I mean, I can't even think of a PD song off the top of my head, but I definitely know there's been a few in the charts that I've enjoyed or listened to. But I mean, I might give it a little go, see how long the doco is. If it's only a little, you know, half hour, 45-minute thing, and I've got some time to kill, I might give it a go. Depends on whether I think of it. I'm finding, especially for Planet of the Apps, when I was wanting to watch it, I kind of opened the music app and kind of went, okay, where is it? I'm not sure. And I went to browse, and then it was right there. But even when I'd gotten halfway through and I paused it, and then I went off and did something else, and 2 days later I came back to get it, the only way to get back to it was go back to the browse screen, I think.
Yeah, what I did was I just added it to my library.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it puts it under there. But it's not very obvious in terms of, the video content so far. But anyway, just something to check out. And so, that wraps up episode 29 of Apple Slice. There's been a real nice GarageBand update, but I'm going to cover that in the next episode. A lot of more features with Touch Bar, so I'm very much into anything that anyone can bring with Touch Bar to make me use it more. I do use it a fair bit, but it was certainly good to see. A bit of a visual overhaul too. But that brings us to the end, and I'll let you do this one, Lance. If people would like to follow Apple Slice on social media, where can they find us?
Oh, wow. They can find, if you want to follow Apple Slice, you can go to Instagram, Apple Slice Podcast, or find us on Twitter. It's at Apple Slice AU, or facebook.com/Apple Slice Podcast, or the website, www.appleslice.com.au.
Cool.
Yes. Making sure.
So, AU?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, there it is. And subscribe.
Maybe we need to register a ZA, for like the South African domain as well, just for some nick cred there. So and there you go. That brings us to the very end. It's been quite an in-depth episode. There's actually stuff that we didn't get to include, but we'd be here all night talking. And thanks very much, Lance, for finally having you on.
No worries. Thank you for finally having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and we've just been we were kind of like, should we do an episode before your baby arrives? Should we wait till after? And you're here, a father with how old's your daughter now?
She was 12 weeks on Wednesday.
Yeah, so he's right in the thick of it, and he's here to express his love of Apple. So thanks very much for being on.
No worries.
Cool. All right, I'll hopefully catch you in a future episode.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.